Okay, so today my objectives are just going to be a little bit to talk about just the Nutrition 101, some helpful tips that I've learned, and then kind of move into like a Q&A for questions if y'all have any questions. So basically, the main nutrition concerns for Parkinson's patients typically are constipation and hydration. They're big issues. Altered sense of taste and smell, swallowing difficulties, which we call dysphagia, some low blood pressure, orthostasis, food and medication interactions, and weight loss. So I'm going to touch a little bit on each of these subjects just for you guys to know. First off, constipation and hydration is one of my biggest issues that I face with Parkinson's patients, because if you're constipated, you typically don't feel like eating, right? And if you're dehydrated, the blood pressure is going to be affected. So adequate hydration is 35 milliliters per kilogram per person, or 6 to 8 glasses a day. And I saw on a previous webinar somewhere else a great tip that a family member had done. And they took like a water container like this, and they put rubber bands on it, and they had a little tape line. And as you drank your glass of water, you moved your rubber band up, so you knew how many glasses of water you were having a day. And I think that's a helpful tip, just to keep track of how much water you're drinking and make sure you're getting adequate hydration. Then also fiber is an important component to help kind of keep things moving along and not have the constipation. A lot of people think that fiber is that we're getting enough. Typically a lot of people in the United States do not get enough fiber in their diet. You should really have 25 to 30 grams per kilogram per day of fiber. And you want a mixture of both soluble fiber. So soluble fiber kind of absorbs the moisture, which is like oatmeal, nuts, seeds, things like that. And then insoluble fiber are the fibers more like celery and your lettuces and things like that help move through the digestive system. The soluble fiber pulls cholesterol from your body and shuttles it out of your body as well. So that's why it's really important to have adequate fiber in your diet. So like, what does that look like? What does 25 to 30 grams of fiber look like in a day? I like this graphic. It's from Europe, but it does have, like, it shows you could have a half a cup of oats with some blueberries, maybe a pear for a snack, maybe some broccoli, sweet potato with lunch, some lentils, and a couple carrots. And this kind of just gives you a feel for, that's about what a day would look like for fiber consumption. And if anybody is interested, I can also supply like fiber rich foods lists and protein rich food lists as well. But I just like this because it kind of gives you an idea. You don't have to eat a ton. It's just mixing it up and getting the different forms of fiber. So then as you think about altered sense of taste and smell, a lot of times patients feel they're just not tasting food, it's not appetizing, or sometimes it just smells bad. One of the things that you can do is to spice it up. Use some mint, some chili powder, rosemary, thyme. Cinnamon and turmeric are great too because they're anti-inflammatory. But that gives you that, just kind of a robust smell and flavor profile. And a lot of Parkinson's patients with the orthostasis, you want to maybe add a little salt if that's appropriate, but that would be more prescribed by your doctor. But I think that just having like the spices in it can sometimes drive your hunger a little bit more if it smells really good to you, or that sort of thing. And then we move into the subject of dysphagia. So one of the things that we do in our facility, and that I know that Parkinson's patients do at home, is to change up their textures based on swallowing. So one of the things you can do is you modify your food texture. So chopping up food, mincing food, blending it. It can help with swallowing difficulties, but also if you're impaired with your motor function to eat. So if something's already pre-chopped, it's a lot easier to eat. Blended foods are great because you can do them like in a smoothie form, and you can get a lot of fiber, protein in those kind of smoothies and shakes and stuff. I see that there's a chat. Let me see what. Taking meds. Okay, yeah. So I'm going to get to the point a little bit later about meds and protein. So that's a good question. And then also thinking about lubricating foods, if that swallow or the movement inside the mouth is difficult, you can add sauces, gravies, extra oil. I do a lot with salsas and condiments like ketchup and things like that to kind of also up the flavor profile, but make it softer and smoother and easier to eat. One of the things that we tell patients too is avoid really dry, crunchy foods because those things are harder to swallow, also harder to move out of the mouth palate. And then we can also do thickened liquids, which help with if you're tend to be like aspirating or swallowing and it's going into your lungs, you don't want to get pneumonia. So oftentimes thickened liquids are a great way to get your liquids in. But again, it becomes hard because people don't really want to drink thickened liquids. So it's, kind of a dance to figure out what kind of liquids work best for you. But that's where those smoothies come in, blended fruits and yogurts and things like that. So another important factor for Parkinson's patients is what we talked about, orthostasis or low blood pressure. So anything that's below, when your blood pressure drops below 90/60, that's a concern because you can get dizzy when you stand up, you can lose your balance and things like that. So we want to avoid having those low blood pressure moments. And this is where the adequate hydration comes in to play. The more hydrated you are, the more your blood pressure is going to stay up. And again, you may need to increase your salt intake. And that would be by a physician recommendation. And they'll typically tell you kind of what range you should be in. And they'll be watching your intake. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Coughing here. This is going a lot faster. The last time I did this, people were in person and they were able to ask me questions as I went along. I'm flying through my slides right now, so I apologize. So now we're going to get to the protein and medication. So carbidopa, levodopa. Levodopa is the form of dopamine, and carbidopa helps it not break down until it's in the brain. I can't think of an easier way to say that. I just learned it from our pharmacist recently, but basically it's absorbed by the same amino acid receptors in the intestinal tract that absorb protein. So you want to avoid taking your medication around those protein meals. So you can take your medication 30 to 60 minutes prior to your morning meal or 2 hours after a meal, and that usually helps with the absorption. Now, this isn't always a factor. Not everybody is impacted. Some patients will never have an issue with protein and their drug function. So it really is dependent it's individualized from patient to patient or person to person. And really what you want to look for is, let me see here, troubleshooting. Well, I don't have it here. You will notice if your symptoms are worsening rapidly after meals, then you probably want to hold back on the protein and maybe do it like later in the day. That's one of the recommendations I've seen before is if protein is a big factor and you're seeing a lot of issues, then maybe do your proteins later in the day. Another medication is dopamine agonists. These mimic dopamine by binding and activated the dopamine receptors in your brain. And you can take those alone or with other Parkinson's medications and with or without food. but the nice thing about it is there's no dietary restrictions like there are with levodopa. So going back to protein needs. So most people think you need to eat a lot of protein throughout your day. But really in the United States, we get adequate protein by just eating a varied diet. So I gave a little calculation here. So the normal recommended amount is 0.8 grams per kilogram per day. So if you're a 165-pound person, you would divide that by 2.2 to get your kilograms. And so a 165-pound person is 75 kilograms. So that means they would need 60 grams of protein a day. And one 7-ounce or 7-gram fillet of salmon equals 50 grams of protein. So you can see you don't need a whole lot of protein in your diet to meet kind of those recommendations. But I would recommend that you do lean proteins, and I included these plant-based proteins as well too, because people tend to forget, oh, I ate some avocado with, my chicken wrap or whatever. And you've had protein both in the chicken and the avocado. So don't exclude those plant-based protein sources as well. In terms of digestibility, animal proteins are more readily absorbed than plant-based proteins. They absorb faster. And eggs are actually the highest bioavailability of protein that you can eat. And I have seen some evidence or some studies that show that a plant-based diet may slow the progression of Parkinson's disease, but at this point, it's still kind of inconclusive. It's still being studied. But for anybody that's interested in that, there are studies out there now about plant-based diets. So one of the ways you can troubleshoot if protein is affecting your medications is an inconsistent response. So sometimes your medications are going to be working really well, and sometimes they don't work, right? So if you see that there's kind of this inconsistent response, you might be taking a look at what your protein intake is like around those times when the medication's not working well. And then also morning pills tend to be the most effective. So again, that's why I mentioned maybe holding off on your protein till lunch and dinner if you're finding any kind of inconsistencies in your medication effect. And sometimes if you just don't even feel the medication kick in or it wears off really quickly, that's another indicator that it might be related to that. But it also could be that you needed like an adjustment in your prescription. So it's kind of, again, like a dance to see where your impacts are. But the recommendation that I've seen kind of across the board is eat the majority of your protein for your evening meals and snacks. But again, I wouldn't say you couldn't do it for lunch too. Notable vitamins. So I like to talk about vitamins because vitamins are very important for our immune system health and helping with all of the Parkinson's symptoms as well. So vitamin D is great, important for your immune system, and you can obviously get that from going outside or drinking milks and things fortified with vitamin D. But it is great for I wish I had my notes, but for immune system health. Vitamin B12 is important for energy. And one of the things as we age, everybody across the board, you start to make less stomach acid. And vitamins B12 is absorbed in your intestines after acid from the stomach releases intrinsic factor that binds to your B12. And those together go into your intestines and they're absorbed together. So if you don't have a lot of stomach acid, your B12 absorption could be a little bit suppressed. So just in general, you could squeeze like a little bit of lemon juice into your water and increase that acid content when you're eating. And the typical recommendation is 500 milligrams of vitamin C per day. And if you go much higher or push like a lot of vitamin C, sometimes that can backfire on you and can have some stomach discomfort you wouldn't overdose or anything from it, but you'll just have discomfort from vitamin C. And then I just encourage across the board kind of a Mediterranean diet. So lean meats, fishes, fish, nuts, seeds, berries, vegetables. And then, like I said, there is some kind of inconclusive data about a plant-based diet, but those are all good for comorbidities of Parkinson's too. So if you have diabetes, if you have some other, renal issues, things like that, these are both very healthy diets that could be beneficial to the other comorbidities you're facing. Found this product at Costco, and I think they have it at regular stores too, but it's very anti-inflammatory. The things that recommended for anti-inflammatory and neuroprotective foods are berries and fruit, especially the purple, red, and blue fruits and berries, nuts, walnut, pistachio, macadamia, cashew, almond, and Brazil are all neuroprotective. And spices are the turmeric and cinnamon that I talked about earlier. So you could add a little cinnamon to your toast or put a little cinnamon in your coffee, things like that. They're kind of known to be neuroprotective. And this Nutso product contains cashews, almonds, Brazil nuts, flax seeds, chia seeds, hazelnuts, pumpkins, and sea salt. So all great things for good fats, good protein, and that neuroprotective property. One of the things I like to talk about is circling back to hydration, is ways to make yourself kind of crave or want water more, is to flavor your water with fruits and vegetables. So you can put some cucumber in your water, or some lemon or lime or orange slices, and just put it like in a pitcher in your refrigerator, and it will flavor your water and make it more palatable sometimes. And then also hydration, you could eat the high water content fruits and vegetables like watermelon and cucumber. I love in the summer the watermelon, and I find it to be more hydrating sometimes than drinking water. So it is so high in water concentration. It gives you a little bit of that natural sugar. So it's a really good thing to eat in the summertime and year round, since we get it here now year round pretty much. And then also using electrolytes when appropriate. So there's a lot of great products out there that have some like electrolytes that you can put into your drinks. Liquid IV is one of them. They sell it at Costco. Noon tablets, it's NUUN, I think. They're little tablets that you put in your water, and they have electrolytes in them as well. There's lots of things out there. I mean, you can do like Gatorade and things like that, but they're just, to me, the sugar content and all the other dyes and things like that, I would rather do without. So these are just kind of some other things to be thinking about. I'm gonna see there's some more chats here. Lost weight and need to gain weight. Yes, I can talk about that in a little bit. Oh, yeah, a typo. Sorry about that. On the salmon. So those are just some things about, like, just some little tips that I use to talk to my patients about. Then one of the other things we can do, so you're talking about trying to gain weight, is really having like fortified snacks in between meals, and maybe eating small frequent meals if you're filling up a lot. So a lot of patients or Parkinson's will have like early satiety. You get full very quickly. So spreading out and doing meals in between or fortified snacks are really beneficial to help you try to put weight back on or gain weight. You can do a low protein fruit or vegetable smoothie using like non-dairy milks and things like that, if dairy is an issue for you, to get some hydration and that fruits and vegetables in fiber in between meals. Some of the snacks that I recommend are guacamole, usually because it's good for patients that have swallowing difficulties and it's very fortified with fat, good fats. Hummus is another great one, bean dips, cottage cheese, and moist breads or cakes are also really good. In terms of if you've lost a lot of weight, we do recommend at our facility, we have fortified ice creams. We have Kate Farms is a product that I like to recommend a lot. It's a plant-based nutrition shake, kind of like Ensure or Boost or those things that you can get a good amount of protein, complete nutrition, and they're pretty packed with calories, like 350 calories a piece. So it gives you almost like a full meal if you wanted to do those between meals, or you can use them as a meal replacement. But we can talk more about that when we do like the Q&A session. I also found this swallowingdisorderfoundation.com website, and they have a multitude of dysphagia cookbooks that you could buy. So if you are supporting someone or you yourself are facing issues with dysphagia, these cookbooks are great on how to make the different textures and some good recipes for those different types of foods. So I really like this website, and I can share my slides with Annie if she wants to share them with you guys as well. One of the things I talk about too is if you're fatiguing with making food, preparing foods, these are some tools that I've found are really helpful so you're not standing and chopping for a long time at the kitchen table or kitchen counter. There's this little chopper, the first picture there, you put your food down in the bottom of it and you kind of slap it and it chops things up for you. Or they have these little mini Cuisinarts that you can just quickly blend up, or if you're trying to say like dice onion or something like that, it just blends it up real quickly. And then the next one is this cuber chopper. You just place your bell pepper or your tomato or whatever on that and push the button down. Again, just minimizing that time spent. And if you're having issues with gripping and you're having issues with fatigue, anything like that, it's really helpful to have something just simple to use like that. And then the NutriBullet, I personally use to make smoothies all the time. These are simple little gadgets that don't take up a whole lot of space and make a great smoothie in them. So just a couple tools to share with you all. And then some other tools that we use for eating in our facility are, you see this first picture here, this plate. It's kind of got an edge up to one side of it that you can push your food up to and scoop out if you're having difficulty like managing getting food off the plate. And then the second picture is a cup that has an adjustable handle given what angle you can eat at, what your dexterity is. And a lot of times we put like the sippy cup type thing on the top just to avoid spills and things like that. Those are usually beneficial. And the next one is a rocker knife. This is really beneficial if you're fatiguing from cutting foods, or there's a tremor and you just can't hold a knife and do it with a fork. These rocker knives are great for just rocking back and forth and cutting up the food. And then the final picture there is built up silverware. So we have silverware that has bigger handles that are easier to hold, but we also have weighted silverware too. So if you're needing that to keep your tremor steady or anything like that, that extra weight sometimes helps with steadying your hands. And that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to answer them. Or we can just chat.
Let's see, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
The question is, the one about the protein and the carbolevodopa. What are the symptoms? I mean, and how do you know?
So basically it's breakthrough. So if you're, when you're taking carbidopa, levodopa, if you're So, like your tremor comes back. So you take your medication, your tremor goes away, and then you realize after you eat a meal that that tremor is starting to come back quicker than usual. That would be a symptom that the protein might be affecting that dosage.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Did anybody else have any questions?
Is it the reverse for protein uptake if you're taking your carbidopa levodopa? I mean, we've been talking about the cinnamon uptake. What about the other side of it? Does cinnamon block protein uptake?
Typically, I don't think it does. I think the thing is from my understanding from our pharmacist here is you want to get the most bang for your buck with the drug uptake before you eat. So that's why you want to space it before your meal, to let it have its chance to absorb, and then you eat your meal. But I haven't heard that it blocks protein absorption.
So what about taking extra carbidopa levodopa to help with the protein, to help with that part of it?
To you mean to be able to eat more
So-
protein?
Yeah, so if you eat more carbidopa levodopas, will the levodopa overpower the protein?
That's a really good question. My thought would be to always just kind of stick with that, taking it before your meal so that it has the best absorption that you can have. But I wouldn't think that you would need to increase your dose just based on increasing protein. It would be more about spacing the protein adequately, timing it before a protein meal, to make sure it's absorbing. But I can ask our pharmacist just to make sure too.
Could you ever have too much levodopa? I mean, can you like OD on this stuff? I mean,
That's another question I don't know because I'm not a pharmacist.
okay.
I've never heard of that. And I know that dosages can increase over time, but I don't know if there's like a tipping point. So I can ask her and I can get back to you guys on that.
I mean, you get frustrated sometimes and you're wondering, should I take more? Can I take more? Is it going to hurt me?
Yeah. I'm just
I'm
going to
just
write that down so I remember to ask the pharmacist. And I can let Annie know and she can give you guys that information.
Okay.
Regarding fiber, is there any other indication that you're taking too much fiber other than diarrhea?
So you can also go the other way with constipation with fiber as well. So if you're taking a lot of soluble fiber in, then it can be pulling so much water from your colon that it does create like a bulking of your stool. So that's where that hydration piece really plays into it too. You want to be making sure you're getting enough hydration that everything's moving along.
So you would say more insoluble fiber like lettuce and celery.
Right. If you find that you're trending towards that constipation piece, for sure. Yeah. A little bit more insoluble is going to help with that. And then also, again, I every chance I get, I say hydration, 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 because that's one of the biggest concerns I see that I've seen since working with Parkinson's patients. My energy seems to be low. Are B12 injections used? Yes, B12 injections can be used for that. And they I would definitely ask your doctor about that because it is a real concern if your energy is real low. They can test your B12 levels and see if you need something like that. Would you recommend taking multivitamin? Yeah, I would. I'm a big proponent of multivitamins, and I think, just the Nature Made at the grocery store is from my understanding, pretty good. So, but you could always ask your physician about that as well.
If you're not handy about using a blender or a tool, is there any reason to not maybe do two Ensure or Boost type protein drinks, or is that too much?
Nope, nope. And what I do too is I recommend if you're fatigued and you just don't have the time to do that, you can use those things as like almost like a meal replacement. But you just want to make sure that, you know, if you can eat, you try to eat the foods that you want to eat as much real food as you can. But the supplements are great for adding that protein, and a lot of them, like the one I was talking about, Kate Farms, plus I think Ensure and Boost and all the others have it too, but they have like all the micronutrients and things that, and vitamins that you need in them too. So the products have come a long way, and they're really good as supplements, and like effectively meal replacement as well.
Am I hearing you properly? You're saying Kate Farm, and was that the fortified ice cream?
Kate Farms is the supplement. It's I'll show you. I've got one right here in my office.
Oh, thank you.
Sure. This is the product, Kate Farm Standard, that we do a lot of, and they have a 1.4 calories. So that's 1.4 calories per milliliter. This is what this one is. So it's got 455 calories and 20 grams of protein. And then it's fortified with all the vitamins and minerals, micronutrients and things. So these are very good. And, Ensure and Boost and those other products are good as well. Kate Farms, you can order online. You can't buy it in stores yet, but like I said, Ensure and those other things are, good. This one is plant-based and it doesn't have high fructose corn syrup in it.
So you said that the dopamine agonist would help, that would help the levodopa last longer.
The dopamine agonists, they're a different type of drug. They mimic dopamine by activating the receptors in your brain. So you can take them with your other meds, but this one in particular, the agonists don't have dietary restrictions. So you don't have to worry about protein intake or anything with those.
So is on Gentees, is that like a dopamine agonist?
I think it is. I think that's one of them.
Okay.
I would have to look. I can't see my notes here. Hold on.
All right.
I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I can look at my note thing. So the dopamine agonists I have are Mirapex, Requip, Nupro, Apocaine, and Kinmobi. I don't know if I'm saying those right, but those are what I have.
Okay.
I was given, my pharmacist gave me a list of them, so there might be more. I don't know.
All right, my doctor, she gave me on Gentees, and because I was having a hard time, like I'd wake up at night and I couldn't walk. My meds wasn't working through the night, and I'm just wondering, it's working now, but I'm just wondering what the on Gentees was. I meant to ask her, but I just.
Yeah, how do you spell that?
ONGY. Let me see. ONGEN. Hang on, it's here somewhere. I'm sorry. I know there's ON. It's ONGENTYS.
Okay. Yeah, I'll ask. We have in-house pharmacists, so I'll ask them, and I can also get back to Annie about that too. Somebody also mentioned earlier in the chat about gaining weight. So like here in our facility, what we recommend to do is to split your meals into small, frequent meals and try to really fortify it with good fats and high calorie foods. So, you know, if you can do snacks with like yogurt and adding nuts to it, doing the you know, we do have the fortified ice cream I was talking about. It's called Magic Cup, and I believe you can also order that. I'm not quite sure how it would be delivered to you. No, let me look and see. Sorry, there's a lot of stuff going in the hallway here. But also, yeah, just looking at high calorie, high protein, you know, foods like that will help with weight loss. And yeah, eating in between meals, you know, just eating those small, frequent meals are really beneficial.
So you think a
That's
lot of cake?
It depends on if you're diabetic or not. But yeah, I mean, like high calorie foods are definitely, if you're getting to that point where you're really starting to drop weight, yeah, we would do whatever you know, you want to encourage the most healthy things, but if cake is something that you can eat and you'll do, then we would encourage you to do it.
Okay, so more brownies. What about sleeping? Is it better to have something to eat before going to bed, or is it better to avoid eating something before going to sleep at night?
I think a snack before bed is a good idea, especially is like if you have tremors, anything like that, your energy needs are a little bit higher than they normally would be because of the tremors. Or if you have, um, I'm trying to think of the word and I'm blanking on it. When you're static, there's a lot of energy used in that as well. So your needs actually go up a little bit.
Yeah, I've
Okay, so
noticed that.
brownies and
Like,
ice cream before bed.
Don't quote me on that, but it definitely like increasing your calorie count when you yeah, it's a good thing.
Yay.
Well, is a lot of times as the disease as it progresses, we will start to drop weight, and so we do everything we can to try to mitigate weight loss because you don't want to lose muscle mass either. So you know, if you're not diabetic and you're not having a lot of issues with blood sugars and things like that, cake can certainly be, you know, included into your diet.
hmm.
Does anybody else have any questions?
So then when you eat, like, I've noticed now that if I like even good fats or high calorie and protein, all that's starting to interfere with my medication absorption now, the levodopa. So
You are
I mean,
noticing?
yeah, yes, I do notice it big time. So it's like I'll have to go to go and like go work, drive somewhere to go work out or something. I'll just can't eat anything so I can drive and go somewhere else. I'm stuck in the house all day because when I do eat all that other stuff, it just puts me in off time and my meds don't work at all.
Okay. Yeah, I would definitely discuss it with your physician because you may, I'm not a physician, but they may need to increase your dosage as well.
Yeah, we've been talking about that. I've done DBS, we've been working on it, so we're trying to figure that out right now. So
Yeah. Yeah. If you're having a lot of breakthrough, then that would be something that I would speak to your physician about for sure.
okay.
Did you guys find this useful at all?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, good. it's a work in progress.
Thank you very much for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yes, I thought it was good too. I can pretty much say that we get a green light for everything on the list. And we even have nutso, but maybe a little more water, I think.
Yeah, the biggest thing is really that hydration piece, because it will help with blood pressure and the constipation for sure.
Yeah. And yeah, Paul used to eat gruel every day, but maybe to incorporate a little bit more of that instead of toast and almond butter. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
So you mentioned maybe squeezing a lemon into a glass of water to enhance the water. If you have one of those green bottles of real lemon, is that a substitute, or is that just so artificial it would not do any good?
I think if it says that it's 100% real juice, yeah, it's lemon juice. So I think there are some that are just like ascorbic acid, but if it's the one that says like 100% lemon juice on it, I would use that for sure. And I've done like just taking a lemon and I just cut them in half and put them in a pitcher, and or even quarter it or whatever and put it in the pitcher, and as it sits in your refrigerator, it just kind of absorbs the lemon into the water. And I was trying to think of anything else that I've talked to patients about recently. Smoothies are just a great thing too, because you can get a lot of you can go buy protein powder to put into a smoothie, or you can put in peanut butter or anything like that and mix in your berries, and you can get a lot of fiber and protein in just one drink that you do like in the evening.
Is there anywhere people can go see recipes for like a Mediterranean diet or something like that, or you just look online?
Yeah, the American Heart Association has great recipes. And they have also information on the DASH diet. So that's a low sodium diet. If you're having issues the other way, you don't have the orthostasis, but you have high blood pressure. They have a lot of heart healthy, diet recipes and information on that one.
Yeah, I have their book. It's a great book full of recipes and desserts and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's great. That's good to know.
So are probiotics good? Aren't they good for constipation? But can we take probiotics? I mean, does that interfere with levodopa absorption?
To my
also?
knowledge, I don't think it does. But again, I'm not a pharmacist. But I'll ask that too. I wish I had Katie in here, because she just did a presentation for a Parkinson's support group in our facility with medications. So maybe I can get her to come talk to you guys next time.
Sounds good.
Great.
Because she knows all the medications, and she gave me some of the information that I presented today, but not as in depth as you guys are asking.
Alrighty, any last questions before we go?
I just had a question regarding the vitamin D. Differences between D1, D3, or just vitamin D?
So vitamin D is in different forms in your body, and it's converted to vitamin D3, which is the form that you need for bone health, that you need to for immune system health. So D3 is the one that if you're going to be taking like a vitamin D supplement, that would be the one you'd want to take. But again, those things you would want to double check with your physician about what amount to take, because you can get too much fat soluble vitamins, and vitamin D is a fat soluble vitamin, and it can cause issues with like hardening of arteries and things like that if you're taking mega doses of it. So you don't want to mega dose your vitamin D.